Blessings, everybody. This is Dale. Thank you so much for joining with me today on the Word Podcast. We're going through Psalm 147. I think we got up to the 8th verse in the previous episode. So let me back up just a little bit to 7th verse, okay? It's always good to sort of set the context of these things, right? Verse 7 says this: Sing to the Lord with thanksgiving. Make melody to our God on the lyre. Okay? So it's with a string instrument. Then the psalmist starts saying some things about God. Verse 8, He covers the heavens with clouds. He prepares rain for the earth. He makes grass grow on the hills. So we looked at that in the previous episode. God's the one who brings forth the rain. He covers the heavens. He prepares the rain. And he makes the grass grow in response to the rain. Verse 9. He gives to the beast their food, and to the young ravens that cry. So you see the psalmist speaking of grass, vegetation. He seems speaking of the beast of the field, the birds of the sky. Verse 10, His delight is not in the strength of the horse, nor his pleasure in the legs of a man. But the Lord takes pleasure in those who fear him, and those who hope in his steadfast love. That right there is a great synopsis of some things that we've seen several times already in the psalm. The Lord doesn't delight in his creation in that sense. You know, one psalm said what? Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but I will trust in the Lord. We're here. The psalmist is saying, the Lord doesn't trust in the strength or doesn't delight in the strength of the horse. His pleasure, his things that would bring favor to him, is not in the legs of the man. But he takes pleasure, he takes favor in those that fear him. And there again, that's that word for being reverent, reverential awe of the Lord. That's who he takes pleasure in those who hope in his steadfast love, in his loyal love. Yeah, we've seen that word several times get said. That word hope in the New American Standard, they translated those who wait for his loving kindness. Well, yeah, wait and hope, synonymous in this context. Verse 12, Praise the Lord, O Jerusalem. Praise your God, O Zion. So the psalmist is calling for Jerusalem, for the people to worship and praise the Lord. Verse 13, For he strengthens the bars of your gates. He blesses your children within you. He makes peace in your border. He fills you with the finest of wheat. He sends out his command to the earth. His word runs swiftly. So let's stop for a moment, back up just a little bit. So he's talked about what the Lord takes pleasure in. He takes pleasure in those who fear him. So the psalmist says, hey, praise the Lord because of this. Praise your God, Zion, Jerusalem, everybody. Why? Because what he does. He strengthens the bars. He's the one that does this. He blesses your children. He's the one that's made peace within your boundaries, within your borders. And he fills you with the finest wheat, not just any kind of wheat, but he fills you with the finest wheat. So we are to give thanks to the Lord in everything. And then in verse 15, he sends out his command to the earth. And he's going to start describing the things that the Lord sends commands about. This is interesting. 15. He sends out his command to the earth. His word runs swiftly, very swiftly, with haste, with speed. He gives snow like wool. He scatters frost like ashes. He hurls down his crystals of ice like crumbs. Who can stand before his cold? I know some of us have felt like this lately at the end of a really sort of cold winter. But the Lord is the one that sends out and commands. He commands the snow. He commands frost. He commands crystals of ice, fragments of ice, like crumbs. He's the one who instructs them. He commands them. Well, what is he instructing and commanding? where to be, where to form. Okay? That's what he's instructing and commanding. Verse 18. He sends out his word and melts them. He makes his wind blow and the waters flow. He declares his word to Jacob, his statutes and rules to Israel. So back up a second. What's he doing? We see a picture that the psalmist is painting of the impact that the Lord has on the earth itself. He's the one who tells snow, ice, rain, everything where to go, where to form, where to fall. It is the Lord who does this. And who can stand before his cold? Who can stand before his heat? Who can stand before the Lord? Just by his word. He sends out his word and he melts them. He makes his wind blow and waters flow. Now, the last couple of verses, verse 19. He declares his word to Jacob, his statutes and rules to Israel. For he has not dealt thus with any other nation. They do not know his rules. That's interesting. Praise the Lord. So, what's he saying? He's saying that the Lord sent out his word to Jacob, to Israel, and his statutes and his rules to Israel. And he hasn't done this to any other nation. And that's true. He has not sent out to any other nation what he'd sent out to the nation of Israel. Other translations say his judgments, and they have not known them. The King James says that no other nation knows his judgments. New American Standard and Lexham both say that no other nations know his ordinances. Okay, his ordinances. Well, that's good. The ESV just seems sort of down to earth, doesn't it? They don't know his rules. But then he ends it with a praise the Lord. He starts this psalm with what? Praise the Lord. Sing praises. The Lord's fitting. He builds up Jerusalem. He does this. He heals. He numbers the stars. We learn so much about creation in this psalm right here that's calling us to praise the Lord. We learn about the ordinances of God. We learn about the moves of God. We would do well to spend time in these psalms, folks. Pay attention to what's said. And always, even as I'm doing it this very moment, look out the window and see what the Lord's saying to you. Well, again, I'm Dale. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.